So why is Midwest Marx promoting a war criminal who is a Zionist and a sex offender? So this is the Midwest Marx website, as you can see. And this is an article, they promoted an article by Scott Ritter, who is a former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, okay? And he was on Schwarzkopf's staff during the Gulf War, and he was a UN weapons inspector. Sounds kind of sus. Why would a publication that claims to be communist promote a U.S. Marine Corps officer? Also, Scott Ritter is a sex offender, and we'll get to that here. So this is who Scott Ritter is. William Scott Ritter, Jr., born the 15th of July, 1961 in Gainesville, Florida. He went to Kaiserslautern American High in Germany, and he went to Franklin and Marshall College. And he is a sex offender, okay? He's been found guilty of unlawful contact with a minor, corruption of minors, and indecent exposure. And he did sentence of 1.5 to 5.5 years in prison, and he was paroled in 2014. Okay? So Scott Ritter has quite a long history of being an imperialist. So he was in the U.S. Army as a private in 80, and then in 84 he became an intelligence officer in the U.S. Marine Corps. Okay? And he served as the lead analyst for the Marine Corps Rapid Deployment Force concerning the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the Iraq-Iran War. That is sus. That is hella sus. And Ritter's academic work focused on the Basmachi resistance movement in Soviet Central Asia. And the Basmachi movement was an uprising against Russian imperial and Soviet rule in Central Asia by rebel groups inspired by Islamic beliefs. That smells kind of fishy. Sounds as if he was operating with the CIA as well as the U.S. Marine Corps, right? So, during the 1920s and 30s and on, the Basmachi commanders, Faisal Maksum and Ibrahim Bek. Interesting. During Desert Storm in 1991, as a Marine captain, Ritter was a ballistic missile intelligence officer under General Norman Schwarzkopf. So, Herbert Norman Schwarzkopf Jr. was a U.S. Army general while serving as the commander of the U.S. Central Command. He led all coalition forces in the Gulf War against Ba'athist Iraq. So, he was committing war crimes in Iraq. He was helping the U.S. Empire commit crimes against the Soviets in Central Asia. He committed war crimes in Iraq. And yeah, so he's a war criminal. Why the fuck is Midwest Marx promoting a sex offender who is a war criminal? And by the way, he's also a Zionist. So Ritter worked as a weapons inspector for the UN Special Commission. Well, the UN, whose interests do they serve? The UN serves U.S. imperialism, right? That's who they serve. So Ritter was amongst a group of U.S. and UNSCOM, United Nations Special Commission inspectors that regularly took Lockheed U-2 imagery to the Zionist entity for analysis, as UNSCOM was not getting sufficient analysis assistance from the United States and United Kingdom. So he's a literal Zionist collaborator. Scott Ritter is a literal Zionist collaborator, as well as a sex offender and a war criminal. And this was not authorized by UNSCOM, the American U-2 having been loaned to UNSCOM and caused Ritter to be subjected to criticism and investigation by U.S. authorities. Iraq protested about the supply of such information to the Zionist entity. See, I told you he's a scumbag. So, and then in 97, Ritter, with the approval of UNSCOM head Richard Butler and other top UNSCOM leaders, began to supply the UK's Foreign Intelligence Service, MI6, with documents and briefings on UNSCOM's findings to be used for MI6's propaganda effort, dubbed Operation Mass Appeal. So this fucking scumbag was collaborating with the English and the Zionists. What a scumbag, right? And here's what he said. I was approached by the British Intelligence Service, which I had a long relationship with of an official nature, to see if there was any information in the archives of UNSCOM that could be handed to the British so that they could work it in, determine its veracity, and then seek to plant it in media outlets around the world in an effort to try to shape public opinion of those countries, and then indirectly through, for instance, a report showing up in the Polish press, shape public opinion in Great Britain and the United States. What a scumbag. What a scumbag he is, right? He is, again, he's an imperialist, he's a sex offender, he's a war criminal, and he's a Zionist. In January 1998, Ritter's inspection team in Iraq was blocked from some weapons sites by Iraqi officials who stated that information obtained from these sites would be used for future planning of attacks. Smart. Iraqis are smart people, guys. The Iraqis are smart people. So, UN inspectors were ordered out of Iraq by the U.S. government shortly before Operation Desert Fox attacks began in December of 1998, using information which had been gathered for the purpose of disarmament to identify targets which would reduce Iraq's ability to wage possibly both conventional and possibly unconventional warfare. UN weapons inspectors were thereafter denied access to Iraq. Ritter spoke on the PBS show The News Hour with Jim Lehrer. Interesting. So he's a propagandist, he's a war criminal, he's an imperialist, he's a sex offender, and he's a Zionist. So he's a scumbag through and through. 2011, okay. So now that we have a picture of, so Ritter and Desert Fox. Interesting. Ritter was the subject of 2 law enforcement sting operations in 2001. He was charged in June 2001 with trying to set up a meeting with an undercover cop posing as a 16-year-old girl. He was charged with the misdemeanor crime of attempted endangerment of the welfare of a child. The charge was dismissed and the record was sealed after he completed 9 months of pretrial probation. After this information was made public in early 2003, Ritter said that Again, so Ritter was arrested again in November 2009 over communications with a police decoy he met on an internet chat site. Police said that he'd exposed himself via a webcam after the cop repeatedly identified himself as a 15-year-old girl. Interesting. So Ritter lied again. And then, so Wow. So the next month, Ritter waived his right to a preliminary hearing and was released on a $25,000 unsecured bail. Charges included unlawful contact with a minor, criminal use of communications facility, corruption of minors, and indecent exposure, possessing instruments of crime, criminal attempt, and criminal solicitation. And then in October 2011, he received a sentence of 1.5 to 5.5 years in prison. He was sent to Laurel Highlands State Prison in Somerset County, Pennsylvania in March 2012 and paroled in September 2014. Interesting. And he's a Zionist too. This is from 2006, Scott Ritter on My Good Friend, the Zionist Entity. That sounds sus. Last night, at Columbia School of Internal Affairs, Scott Ritter, the former weapons inspector and former Marine, opened a speech about Iran, bracingly by speaking not of Iran, but about the elephant in the room, the Zionist entity. He said the Zionist entity is our close ally, and if Iran actually intends to develop nuclear weapons, not nuclear power, as the Iranian ambassador had said in the speech preceding Ritter's, and if Iran fails to repudiate Ahmadinejad's so-called hateful rhetoric about the Zionist entity, well, then the Zionist entity's quote-unquote fake legitimate national security concerns are ours and could even bring war. After all, Ritter said, one nuclear strike on a Zionist settlement and the small country would be deeply and permanently damaged. So he's a Zionist. See how much of a scumbag he is? The great thing about Ritter's speech, so let's just jump forward here and we'll skip over the bullshit. We all know, or ought to know now, that concern for the Zionist entity's security played a role in America's disastrous war plans. Philip Zelikow of the 9/11 Commission has said it was an agenda that dare not speak its name. It was generally cloaked in language about bringing democracy to the Middle East that reporters who knew better parroted. So the media was running cover for these fucking Zionists like Scott Ritter and Philip Zelikow. So this lack of straightforwardness damaged the country. No shit, Sherlock. Oh, and they're trying to they're using the anti-Semitism trope. You dumbass. Most Jews are not Semitic. Judaism is a religion. Arabs are Semitic, right? So, I think the lack of straightforwardness reflected Jewish fears of anti-Semitism, that a Christian nation that was actually put to the test and the alliance with the Zionist entity cost American lives. The American people would abandon the Zionist entity. Well, the American people should have never sided with the Zionist entity, and the U.S. government knew better, but the Zionist entity is part and parcel of U.S. imperialism. Okay? U.S. imperialism was founded on Zionism, which is an extension of Freemasonry and Protestant Kabbalah. Right? And Ritter's a Zionist. Right? So, shame on Midwestern Marx for promoting this Zionist war criminal and sex offender, Scott Ritter. Shame on Midwestern Marx for promoting the Zionist war criminal and sex offender, Scott Ritter. Oh, and he's not the only unsavory person that they've promoted. So, this is their editorial board. It is full of academics. Thomas Riggins, retired professor from NYU, the New School of Social Research, among others. Carlos Garrido. Oh, by the way, Carlos's parents were from Cuba, right? And they migrated to Cuba from Andalusia in southern Spain. But they migrated to Andalusia, according to my research, because I looked up the last name Garrido, because I'm Spanish myself. I'm of Spanish descent. And I like to know where other Spanish people are from. They migrated from Castilla y León to Andalusia to Cuba, right? Then you have Casserole Boy, Eddie Liger Smith. He's an academic too. And he got sacked. He got sacked as a wrestling coach. I'm going to try to bring up this article here. Let's see. He got sacked. I heard that he was sacked for doing an illegal hot box. Where the fuck does it say? Because he was sacked for doing a hot box to help his wrestlers lose weight, which is he's not allowed to do, or he had knowledge of it. I couldn't find the article right there. Mitchell Jones, again, has a bachelor's degree, is a PhD student. Like, these are all academics, right? I never finished college, for the record, right? A master's in humanities from University of Chicago, and a Kayla Winchell, who has a BA in English from Johns Hopkins and a master's in humanities from the University of Chicago. Right? Like, Noah, who has quoted Nazis, is the only non-college educated person, and Noah is also a racist grifter, who promotes neo-Confederates like Oliver Anthony, right? He's the only non-college educated person on their editorial board. Ben Dar, professor, Loras College. And he went to Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa. And the University of Iowa. Sebastián León, Pontifical Catholic University, Peru. Right? It's all these college-educated people here. Paul Cockshot. That name sounds disgusting. Right? Again, he's a computer scientist and an economist. These are not working class people. Alex Zambito. Right? He's from the South and he went to Georgia Tech. And has a degree from Georgia Tech. Oh, and he's getting his master's at Brooklyn College. Right? Charles Brown, anthropology professor at a community college. Right? So, Sonia Gulzeb Abbasi, University of London. She has a master's in social anthropology from the University of London. Right? She went to Cosmats University, Islamabad. These are not working class people. These are just not working class people. Robert Schuer, social economist with an MA from Eastern Michigan University and a BA from Michigan State. These are not working class people. These are fucking academics. And I'm going to go through all of them. Paul So, UCSB, right? He's actually currently studying his PhD there. Maddie Hughes. Again. Oh, she's a DSA member. Okay. That makes sense. And so she's a journalist, but I don't know if she has a college degree. It does not say here, so we should not assume. Jimmy C. BA, Utica College. Giannis Iqbal. I don't know if he has a college degree, so I can't assume. Again, Danny Shaw. Great guy, right? But he's still college educated. He's still a college professor, right? It's not like he's working, you know what I mean? It's not like he's working as a grocery store employee. It's not like he's working at a hardware store. It's not like he's working, another blue-collar job as a line cook or a dishwasher or anything. These are academics for the large part. Stephen Joseph Scott, University of Edinburgh, right? Like, the only good writer they have is Ramiro Sebastián Funes. Other than that, it's a bunch of academics. Oh, he has a bachelor's degree in political science and he's seeking a master's degree in public policy. And he's currently working as a bartender. But even though, he has a college degree and he's working on his master's degree, right? Cacique Osorio. Oh, Venezuelan, went to FIU and has a BA in political science from FIU. Wow. Another academic, right? Christian Marinos. He's a social worker. I'm assuming he has a college degree. And he's got a nose ring because he thinks he's a water buffalo from Myanmar. Sorry, guys. I think nose rings look stupid. And nose rings are for water buffaloes from Myanmar and Cambodia. Joshua Hanks. University of Houston has a college degree. Well, I don't know if he has a college degree, but he says it looks like he went to college, right? Because I did a year of college, but I dropped out. I don't have no college degree. Hunter Hilinski, PhD student at UC Irvine. And he has a political science degree from Colorado State. John Jenkins. He has degrees from CU Boulder. He has a degree in political science from CU Boulder. And he's a graduate student at the University of Denver, at Denver University Law School. Right? I don't know if this dude has, if Suryayeshkar Biswas has a college degree or not. Right? Wes Vanderberg, it does not say whether he has a college degree, so we cannot assume. Rebecca Elliott, I'm assuming she has a college degree, right? Benjamin Perez Gonzalez, University of Puerto Rico, again. And he has his undergrad at FIU. He did his undergrad at FIU. These are mostly academics that are disconnected from working people. Kayla Popuchet, CUNY student, right? So, academic. Jacon Stone. I don't know if he has a college degree or not, okay? Nikita Valentinov, UW. As much as I like UW, he is still a college graduate. He's still an academic. He's not part of the real, lower working class. Andrew Wright, I do not know if he has a degree in anything, so I cannot assume. Josh Davis. Recovering academic. What the fuck? And he's doing his PhD. What the fuck? So again, another academic. Tagatat Singh, Master's Research Scholar of Economics, South Asian University, Delhi, India. Again, another academic. Alex Stott. Oh, he's on the staff. Now, we don't know if he's working in the chow hall. We don't know if he is working in the athletic facilities. All we know is he's on staff from. Oh, he does have a college degree. Never mind. University College Dublin in Dublin, Ireland. So he's an academic as well. He's a graduate from the University College Dublin in Dublin, Ireland, and now he's on staff at Cleveland State University. Like, you can't make this up. These are majority academics. Jose Hernandez Huervo. He goes to Cornell. I know that for a fact because of TikTok. Back when I was on TikTok, I'm not on TikTok anymore. But this fucking LARPer calls himself the Levantine Latino. He's not Syrian, Lebanese, or Palestinian. He's fucking Georgian and Ukrainian on one side and Puerto Rican on the other side. He's Georgian and Ukrainian on one side and Puerto Rican on the other side. He calls himself Levantine Latino. He is not Levantine. He's Georgian and Ukrainian. And he's a Zionist. He's a liberal Zionist as well. And you got Wade Patton, former intelligence analyst in the U.S. Army and a U.S. Army veteran. These are mostly academics and deep state spooks. That's who most of these people are. Most of these guys are. Camilo Godoy Pinchon. Pichon is a sociologist from the University of Chile, an MA candidate in international studies in the University of Santiago in Chile. Another academic. Like, you can't make this up. Dan Schoenbaum, research writer in Cochabamba, Bolivia, right? I do not know whether he has a college degree or not. I'm going to assume that he does. Right? Jordan Shepard, right? Bachelor's degree in Middle Eastern Studies and a master's degree in political science with an emphasis on marginalized communities. Dude, he's another academic, right? Vince K., PhD student. Valeria Vaca, again, college student, Autonomous University of Ciudad Juarez. Toby Green. Is he? I don't know if. Oh, language undergraduate in the UK. Again, academic. Andrea Daves. Studied Spanish and played soccer at University of Nebraska, Omaha. Graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Neuroscience and Bachelor of Arts degree in Spanish and a minor in Psychology. And she's playing ball in Spain. Still an academic. Still has degrees from academia. And then you talk about their youth league. Their youth league riders. Cormac Kavanaugh. I think that's how you say his name. Again, university student. Jay. Okay. Students for Bernie, again, that's the liberal Zionist. DSA, liberal Zionist. Student organizer. He's a student organizer. So he was in college. And you got Simon, who goes to Central Missouri. Or no. But still. And then you have Jared Yackley, undergrad, Cal Berkeley. And as much, because, you know, my cousin who was a journalist went to Cal. My late cousin. As much as I like their football programs and their soccer and track and field programs, he's still part of academia, right? And honestly, in terms of when I talk about the football and track and field soccer programs at Cal Berkeley, I wish it was more like Spain or Italy or the Netherlands, where it was club sports and where sports weren't tied to academics in the United States, right? Like how it is over in Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. I'm just using those countries as examples because I've been over there, and I have family over there too. So, Ella Kotzen, undergrad student at Bryn Mawr. So these are mostly academics, right? Tara Thomason, pursuing a bachelor's degree in political science and gender studies. So another academic, right? Harsh Yadav. He just graduated from Banaras Hindu University with a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry. Again, academic, right? Tyler Crawl, undergraduate student, University of Northern Iowa. Oh, my cousin swam there. But another academic. Nolan Long, undergraduate student in Western Canada. Vaughn Mitchell. So, Aidan Ulrich, University of Saskatchewan. Malcolm Nkrumah. He wants to go to college to get a degree in political science and history. Jeez. So, here's the thing. The vast majority of authors here and contributors on Midwest Marx are somehow involved in academia. They are divorced from the working class masses who are either homeless, suffering addiction, suffering poverty on food stamps on Section 8, or, struggling to pay rent, working in retail environments, working in hotels, working as dishwashers, working as line cooks, waiters, front of house staff members in restaurants. Like, these Midwest Marx people are divorced from those realities for the most part. They're mostly academics. Most of them live more comfortably than your average person because they have college degrees, right? They don't have to worry about rent or utilities or, putting food on the table like us normal people us lower working class people who largely work in industries like grocery, produce, meat and seafood, right? Bakery, industries like that, grocery store, hardware store, clothing store, line cooks in a restaurant, dishwashers in a restaurant, servers in a restaurant, stuff like that, like lower working class jobs. Farm workers, the big corporate farms, they hire people to pick the apples and the blueberries and the strawberries, or the big corporate farms they hire migrant workers to wrangle cattle and sheep and wrangle chickens and milk goats and stuff like that, or maintenance, they hire people to do maintenance and whatnot. Or if you're a janitor, right? If you're a janitor, like you're getting paid piss poor wages. And these academics at Midwest Marx, they're just totally divorced from, the janitor, the grocery clerk, the produce clerk, the dishwasher, deli clerk, seafood clerk, veggie trimmer, hardware store employee, dishwasher, line cook, stuff like that, bakery employee, stuff like that. Not the owner, but the employees doing the dirty work, janitor, right, doing the tough work. Or they're divorced from these migrant farm workers who are out picking berries, picking apples, picking lettuce, wrangling sheep, wrangling cattle, wrangling chickens, milking goats, wrangling goats, They're just divorced from that reality. They're divorced from, to a certain extent, your commercial fishermen, but also they're divorced from cannery workers that are putting salmon in cans and stuff, here in Alaska. They're divorced from, working class fur trappers, working class commercial fishermen. These academics are divorced from reality, right? And trust me, I've largely worked in the produce industry and the grocery industry. I've worked as a veggie trimmer. I worked as a dry tables clerk, salads clerk. What else have I done? Dry table salads, veggies, I did the wet racks a little bit. I wasn't too good at it. Grocery, I worked as a grocery parcel. I've done the sidewalk sale as a general merchandise clerk. I've worked in a floral department before as the freight clerk who just chops up and puts the flowers in, as they are in the back on freight day. And then helped out with balloons as well. Like, I've done all the, like, I've bagged groceries. Like, I'm a blue collar guy, and my dad has a blue collar job. He just retired. He's a commercial fisherman. He was a commercial fisherman, a long liner. My brother's a commercial fisherman. My grandpa, before he became a lawyer, he started out in the fishing industry. He worked in the canneries in Ketchikan, and actually he also was a gold panner up in the interior in Fairbanks. And my great-grandpa worked part-time as a school teacher, part-time as a goat farmer. He had a herd of Saanen dairy goats, to provide for his family in Massachusetts. So, and then my family came to the States as part of the fur industry from the Netherlands and France. And prior to that, they migrated to France from Italy. And prior to that, they were in Spain. And prior to that, they were in Hungary. And prior to that, they were in Serbia. And then one branch during the Umayyad Caliphate came from Yemen and went up to Spain. So, again, my family, since their arrival in North America, has largely had blue-collar jobs. Dairy goat farmer, commercial fisherman, gold panner, produce clerk, grocery clerk, floral clerk, general merchandise clerk. Like, I'm a blue-collar guy. Okay, and this is just on my mom's side. Oh, my great-grandpa on my grandma's side of the family never went to college. He was a postmaster. He worked for the Postal Service. He worked for the Postal Service in central Pennsylvania, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And then when he retired out, I don't know if he moved to Sequim before he retired or after he retired, but either way, he didn't go to no college. My great-grandpa didn't go to college. On my grandma's side, he didn't go to college. He worked for the Postal Service. Like, I'm a blue-collar guy. I'm about that blue-collar life. My great-grandpa went to school in a one-room schoolhouse in rural Pennsylvania. Okay? He never went to college. Oh, and my dad's grandpa had a white-collar job. But no, my maternal grandma's dad never went to college. He worked for the Postal Service. Okay? I dropped out of college. Okay? I've worked largely in grocery and produce. Okay? These Midwest Marx academics, not only are they promoting these creepy sex offenders like Scott Ritter, who's also Zionist, also a war criminal, also an imperialist. Not only are they promoting him, but they're also largely comprised of people like Thomas Riggins, who are academics, bougie academics, who are totally divorced from the reality. Like, I had coworkers, who were living with other relatives because it was cheaper. I had coworkers who were sending part of their paycheck, part of their wages, out to rural communities that are off the road system to support their dad. Okay? To support their family, okay? Like, it's not all, and there was some, I guess they would be quasi-PMCs when I worked at Fred Meyer, but, the people with the house with the picket fence and the television inside, and, yeah, television that they bought, not one that was gifted by a friend moving out of state, as is my case. But a television that gets Pac-12 network. Ooh, that's a good one. That's the PMC life, right? Whereas, your working class person, they're working these jobs, whether they be as farm workers, whether they be as retail workers, grocery store, hardware store, whether they be working as line cooks or dishwashers in restaurants. They're working these really hard jobs. They're struggling. They might be in Section 8. They might be on food stamps. But these Midwest Marx people are totally divorced. They're totally divorced from that. So, again, this is a 40-minute video because this had to be a 40-minute video. This had to be a 40-minute video. And the reason why it had to be a 40-minute video, and again, this is not a knock on people in academia. This is not a knock on people that are college graduates. I'm just emphasizing the point that Midwest Marx is out of touch with the working class. Midwest Marx is out of touch with the working class. They are out of touch with the lower working class. People working in grocery stores, people working in hardware stores, people that are migrant farm workers picking blueberries, picking lettuce, picking apples, picking strawberries, wrangling sheep, right? Again, that's what migrant farm workers do here on the West Coast. Or migrant cannery workers who are working on the slime line all day, right? Or crew members on fishing boats. Like, these people are divorced from that material working class reality. They're divorced from the dishwashers, the line cooks, you know, people like baristas, people like that don't make shit for money, probably are on Section 8, you know, probably are on food stamps, right? They don't have that experience, or they don't have the experience of living paycheck to paycheck. No, they're academics. You know, they're academics. You know, and as much as I was slightly influenced by some academics just because of how I grew up, where I grew up, and just because of who some of my relatives are, I don't have that same experience, right? I dropped out of college after a year, okay? Not only did I drop out of college after a year, my first ever job, my first like real job was as a veggie trimmer. And then I moved to like dry tables, then I moved to bananas, then I moved to, I helped out a little bit with salads, helped out a little bit in the floral department. And then I moved to grocery and was a grocery parcel. And I did everything for that company for Fred Meyer's. So, again, and I had to commute an hour by bus each way. Sometimes even walking 20 minutes to the bus stop. So I know, and sometimes I had to take 2 buses, which would be an hour as well. So I know what it's like being a working class person, because that's my experience. That's my experience. Not to mention I had a diverse group of coworkers from all different backgrounds. Again, my background is that I'm Spanish, French, Dutch, Belgian, Italian, Serbian, Norwegian, English, Irish, Welsh, Yemeni, Russian, Ukrainian, Hungarian, Polish on my mom's side. And there's some Portuguese in there as well. And on my dad's side, I'm English, Scottish, German, Swedish, Dutch, French, a little bit of Icelandic, right? And a little bit of Welsh too. But I had coworkers who were Inupiaq. I had coworkers who were Athabascan, Koyukan Athabascan. I had coworkers who were Yupik. I had coworkers who were Mexican, African American, German, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Samoan, Tongan, Hawaiian, right? But again, I'm from the West Coast, which is hella diverse. So that being said, aside from maybe Oregon, So Midwest Marx, I had coworkers who were Gambian, right? So that's the reality I live in, as opposed to the reality in which Midwest Marx lives in, which they're a bunch of academics, right? I actually know working class people, and I have worked air stacking bananas, baling big bales of cardboard from empty boxes, right? You know, helping out customers, you know, doing balloons, you know, sweeping the floor, cleaning up messes. I've worked with people, actual working class people from different backgrounds. Unlike Midwest Marx, right? Again, I grew up pretty blue collar, right? My dad's a commercial fisherman, right? I'm a grocery parcel, you know? So I know what it's like to grow up in a blue-collar household. Like, I saw how my dad's nieces and nephews grew up versus how I grew up. Actually, my dad's younger brother is a farmer. Believe it or not. So, yeah,